You know what it is. I'm Parlay. And this man to my left, the one, the only, the big dog.
Talk that talk.
You know what it is. It's the Snowfall recap episode.
This was a long time coming. We were supposed to do this shit a month ago, but we had other, agenda things behind the scenes, paying bills and all of that. So no, man, this is definitely dear, special to me. Snowfall. When I categorize my favorite shows right now, Snowfall beats everything for me.
Greatest show of all time.
It potentially has the to reach in that for sure. What are your top 10, maybe top 5.
What are your top 5 shows
of all time? It's difficult though because we're talking about what are we talking about? Sitcoms?
All time sitcoms, dramas. All television. Comedy,
it's hard, bro. I don't really want to. I don't want to really go into that. I think, but in the last 7 years, 5-7 years, 50 Cent and even rest in peace the late great John Singleton with this production here, and then 50 Cent creating Power in the Power universe, because it's just not Ghost or just not Power, the whole Power universe, creating Tommy, creating BMF into that. Like, it's hard for me to say, but yeah, Snowfall, it beats every Power to me. It does, because it's deeper than, because Snowfall beats every Power because it's deeper than like a soap opera. Power is great, but it has a soap opera mentality. You're waiting to see what's next.
So Snowfall and Power.
You're waiting to see what's next.
Are the two greatest shows in the last 10 years of all time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think Snowfall definitely the greatest show in the last 5 years.
Yeah, Breaking Bad.
I just got out of the gym. I'm hungry. I'm not thinking as deeply as I could think about, like, as far as back in 10 years ago, bro. You understand? 10 years ago, we were.
No, it's fine. We can just talk about the last 10 years.
1 year removed from high school. So that's crazy, isn't it? I'll be 30 in 9 days. It's wild, bro.
Big 3-0.
Man.
30 for 30.
30 for 30.
Yeah, I think last 10 years, Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad is
definitely in there. Breaking Bad is in the top 10. It's hard, bro.
Yeah, it is hard.
Sopranos.
Sopranos is probably.
I'm missing something right now. People they're gonna be in the.
comments. There's so many.
They're gonna be in the comments, bro. But I'm missing a lot of shit, bro.
There's so many good shows. But yeah, no, Snowfall, like, best show in the last 10 years. I definitely think there's a great argument for that.
Cut that down to 5. Best show in the last 5 years for sure.
For sure, yeah. So no, it was man, dude.
You could throw the Shy. You could throw. Now I'm thinking of the old. You could throw Shy. You could throw. What's the show from Baltimore? Remember the show they did that was in
Wire.
Baltimore? Wire. Yes, you could throw that.
But that's like 20 years. So you're going back between 20 years and 10 years.
10. Ballers is in there for me.
What's that?
Ballers is in there.
Ballers was pretty good, yeah. Let's talk about Snowfall. All right, so going back to season 1, watching Franklin and his journey and where he and up until the end. Let's start. All the latest stuff is fresh, but so the guy that Franklin ended up being was, this, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, we're going to talk about it. He becomes a bum at the end. Do you think the ending is good? Do you like the ending?
I think the ending is very accurate. I think there's only one way they could. This is not a Disney movie. Nobody was riding off into the sunset. Like, there had to be something done. The only thing I'd ask when I was watching it as a fan is, like, I don't want him to die. Like, for him to get up to that point and then he dies, like, you see that in a lot of shows, and I'm like, I just hope that's not the point. But no, like I said this the other day, bro, talking to some friends, but you're your most, that and it is symbolic and metaphorically appropriate in this matter right here. You're your purest in everything when you're younger. So what I mean by that, just like babies, you're your purest when you're young. And for for us to see where Franklin was from year 1 to year 7, like night and day, bro. He didn't even get in it for just like the movie Paid in Full. He didn't even like Ace. He didn't even get in it for like the reasons initially that we think of. Like he was blessed into it, and it was like to see how things unfolded and how mentally and just how much of a monster that he became into, like that was what was crazy to me, because in the beginning, bro, he loved his dad. He felt bad for his dad. You know, and in the beginning, he didn't really love his dad because he was a crackhead, but then he developed a relationship mid seasons with his father and understood family was important. But he always loved his mom, always loved his uncle, even loved his friends. But one thing that stands out to me, if you remember in year 1, he had to kill one of his best friends, Kev. And that was one of the turning points. I feel like that, okay, this dude don't really, like, at the end of the day, they're creating this monster, but I want to use a better word, but it's just like they're creating this beast. Like this dude, he don't really give a fuck. Like
relentless.
He was on a mission.
All right, so here's my question. Could Franklin in the surroundings that he was in growing up in a rough area and in LA and all the things that, racism and the government and all these things that are setting him back, would Franklin have became a boss if he did not go the drug dealing route? If he would have gone to school,
I think, yeah, that and I ain't mean to cut you off, but that's what the show was showing. That's what John Singleton was showing. Like this dude had talents beyond even just being a drug dealer. He was so smart. He was smarter than Leon, smarter than Kev, smarter than Jerome, smarter than Louis, like smarter than everybody except pretty much his mom and dad. Because first of all, his mom was a businesswoman, his dad was an ex-Panther / crackhead, but the dude had he was an activist mind, his dad. And so putting those two together, it was multiple scenes, if you remember, like of him dreaming as if he was going to go to college. The year he killed old girl's dad, the police officer, the black dude that was always hunting him. That was like his biggest enemy. And once he died, once he killed him, like Franklin really took off. But that year when he was going through that process, because old girl had shot him, he was thinking about a lot. And he was thinking like, okay, what if my life was different if I did go to college route? So yes, I think he could have made it, but it shows you the realistic thing is what I see in my community every day, that people just like that I knew and I grew up with had the same type of talent to be like a Franklin, and they choose to go the wrong path. Mike Vick says it all the time, bro. It's easy to do the wrong things. It's hard to do the right. Like he had ample amount of times. Dude, they made in the first season, if you remember, he made $1 million. And Javi had owed him a couple of other $1 million. And so it was like, I just think it was untapped. But you got to remember too, the story is based in the 80s. So think about the 80s too. These dudes ain't no better. Inglewood, Compton, California, bro, they seeing money. This was a part of that culture. So what it's trying to show you is, okay, we'll take a fictional character, but we'll put it in a non-fictional situation, and then you analyze what is real and what is not. And so there's no way it could have been because of his environment. I know I'm getting deep already, but it's like, that's hard to say. Like in today's society with better technology and better opportunities, there's some kids that might choose a different route, but back in the 80s, bro, that's tough to say.
Yeah. Okay, so Franklin's mom worked at the homeless shelter.
She didn't work there initially. She was like a real estate agent. She was working for the white man. No point intended. Yeah. No point intended, but she was working for them.
Right.
And then that sparked his business mind.
Right. And then at the end, she's working at the homeless shelter, giving back, and then she's also working at the real estate company.
Yeah. That he owned. She was working there, but she had a desire to do right for the people, but she was doing that because her husband was going. So that was his deal. Franklin had bought that for him, and then she just kind of withheld it up. So I don't think that was as much greater a point, just to be that she was just, her love for her husband in the show, that she was like, okay, since they killed him, she knew they killed him. She was just like, no, I'm going to make sure that, I still got the shelter people. Because you got to think about, like, I'm serious, like the times in the 80s, and it's crazy too. how at the end of the movie, all the things, I mean, it's the movie, at the end of the show, all the things that go on, and like they speed it up to like early 90s. And yeah, I remember the imagery of like him and Leon were walking to the liquor store. This when they finally showed that he was a bum. And he's like, man, they over there shooting a movie. And they were making the assumption of Boys in the Hood. Because you know John Singleton made that movie in South Central LA. And so they were shooting it there, and it's just showing you the time change. In any movie, like I watch Life or any movie of significant time change. I love The Butler with Oprah Winfrey and what's my boy Forrest Whitaker. I love seeing movies that show different decades of time changing and kind of how everything evolves. Like, yeah. So for him, it's like he finally got left, bro. In the
So
80s, it was
do you
easy.
think do you think Franklin do you think when did you think that Franklin like exemplified happiness? Because it was kind of hard to tell when he was happy and when he was just, I mean, he's such a good actor, he would get excited about things, but it kind of just seemed like he always kept this paranoia around him even when he was
I
happy.
think that's the structure of being what we say in the family. I use this word from my grandma, like the matriarch. He was the matriarch of their family. So for him, he had to be. Even his relationship with Jerome, there was moments. If you remember when Jerome had in what the third or fourth season when he opened up his shop, the record shop with the auto shop in it, like you could see they took that family picture. That was an exciting time. Everybody was happy, business was good. There was moments, when
Like but that's early, like like we're talking
that's
about
middle, that's mid. That part was midpoint.
it's before he becomes this like drug lord. And it's
I,
like before that, like in season one, you would see him get excited even when he was working at
but I
the
don't. I think that's the evolving of the show in itself too, and the
right.
storyline of great
He kind of sells
actors and
his
producers.
happiness. You know what I mean? He
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
sells his happiness away to, and like when you mentioned that he kills his friend in season one, he shoots him in the head. Like at that point, it's almost like, the like you're not like there's no like everything is real now. And I
Yeah,
don't know,
there's no
like I
coming
don't know
back.
if
There
he
was that was definitely early when he did that with Kev. I think there was no coming back.
and it
I
was
don't,
like after that, yeah, you didn't, it was like a different character was born.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
and
don't know if
it's
you remember the first season, a weird scene when they he was having issues with the neighborhood gangbangers, and I don't know who connected him to this dude. This dude was weird, but he knew another dude in the neighborhood that he was cool with. But the dude was a weirdo because I don't know. I don't think you remember. It was just a weird scene. You got to go back and see it in season one. But I'll just conclude with like they hunted that dude down out into the fucking hills of LA to get his money back. And he ended up killing that dude. And then he got the bangers who he had beef with. He
no, I
had them,
remember that they
had
killed him
them
in the
start.
desert. Yeah, they killed
Yeah,
him in the desert.
yeah.
Yeah, out in the car. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, no, that happened very quickly. That was the second guy he killed, and it was like, right?
No,
Was
that
it?
was the first dude he killed. That was the first dude he
Oh,
killed.
that was the first dude he
That was
killed.
the first dude. Then he killed Kevin in the same season. But then,
Right.
like you said, bro, it just makes me think about progressively now. Remember, shoot, in this last season, at the beginning of this last season, or the season before this last one, yeah, the season before this last one, he killed his best friend, who was the white boy. Remember the homie that had the house always in like those were the moments. Now that you say that, those were the moments I remember him being happy a lot. Like when he was around his white friend, his white boy, his buddy, I forgot his name, but they just he stayed very true to himself. Like remember he was a kid and they had fun and they would
Before he started killing people.
yeah, but he ended up killing him too because he killed him because that dude started getting on drugs and he was like anybody that's on drugs or in the way I can't fuck with and you can't trust him. And so you're right, it becomes a paranoia and you see how that branches off into the other characters and how they see it. I don't want to spend crazy amount of time. We can come back on Franklin, but I want to talk more about Jerome and even Lee.
Okay,
Lee is that them two characters right there stand out.
you want to talk about Jerome and Lee? Okay, I was just gonna ask though, like I do want to ask you before we finish the podcast about like a favorite scene or maybe a two or three favorite scenes, just that you. But we'll get to that later. And then I wanted to ask, like, do you think it? Jerome died, Teddy died, and obviously we followed Franklin, throughout this whole thing. Does it? Did you feel because like when Jerome died, it was like, oh shit. I think I kind of thought everybody was gonna die after Jerome died, and then it was just Jerome and Teddy. So it's like, do you think that do you think that? I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter at this point, but do you think that Jerome, what he, how he died, what he died for? Do you think that it was ever gonna change? Like it was ever gonna be him and Franklin were ever gonna be close again, or do you think they were already like too far gone? It was never gonna be worked out, and
No, I don't think
Louis
it was
was
them. I don't think it was them because he was hurt, bro. If you remember how Jerome died, if Franklin didn't try to go back to save old girl, Jerome would be alive. Then they would have beat, but they would have patched that up. I feel like, even though that's a strong pain, but for Franklin to have a heart to be like, all right, man, I ain't gonna let
but
Louis
it
go
didn't
out.
seem like Louis was ever gonna forgive Franklin, and if Louis
Oh, but
doesn't
see,
forgive
and I
Franklin,
and I get
he's not
I
gonna
get
forgive
her
Franklin.
understanding of being like, oh, she tried to blame him for it, like because yes, he was like
Like
I said.
Jerome was gonna stick with Louis no matter what.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. Let me say
So
my
what
answer.
if Franklin kills
No,
Louis?
what I'm saying is for him to go back, bro. You got to remember the beginning of this last season was that coffee shop scene when he put the gun to Jerome's head, and then they both cried and was like, ah, and he's like, I can't do that. Like Franklin was like, I can't do that. You're my uncle. He thought about that. Like, no. So they knew there, like they couldn't really kill each other. It was gonna have to be something else for them to ever get to that thought. But for what I'm saying is for Franklin to feed her to the wolves, but then go back and be like, fuck, man, I ain't gonna do her like that. That's my uncle wife. I got love enough for him. So when he told Jerome that, Jerome knew, all right, Neff, I'm mad right now at Neff, but deep down inside, they're gonna be good. And at the end of it, Louis trying to turn that on Franklin full 100%, I was mad about because I'm like,
Okay, so my question is though, does Jerome ever and Louis like does I guess it's more does Louis ever make things right with Franklin?
no. I mean, and that's where
So how does Jerome make
I
things
think
right
that's
with
where we ended the show, bro. That's where we ended. We didn't, no, it wasn't gonna be that because she went through it. Like, bro, she went through it in that whole last scene. Going, first of all, they was fucking with her mentally, and then like trying to have a breakdown, bro. They remember they branded her with the little like the hot metal and shit. I'm like, yeah, all that, and then for to see Jerome die, and then you go to war with Franklin and all the wars, and then all the shooting. She had already been shot. She had already been shot before, and it was involving Franklin. And so it's like, no, I don't think it was never gonna be no peace. That's why I feel like the way they ended it, everybody had to go their separate ways. Everybody did. Franklin's mom did life, and she was at peace. She was at peace. Like she said, dude, she said, I'd rather I could live knowing what I did and forgive myself and have God forgive me rather than what I went through and losing everybody, including my son, because he didn't love me enough to understand how of a big of a monster he
Do
got
you
me.
respect her decision to do that at the end?
I mean, bro, just keeping it real, yes, because it's like if
Wow.
you imagine somebody, all right, you imagine you not giving no fuck about what anybody got to say. I don't even want to imagine. Just think about her situation. And if it was your wife or if it was your mom that somebody killed, bro, like I don't even want to think about that situation, bro. So no. But yes, I agree with her because it's no question. When you get to the point in your mind, like you that deeply hurt, bro, it's different. I understand what you're saying. They were so close to the
I mean,
situation of,
it's weird to me because Franklin is not the
but
guy that he's not the 16-year-old, kid that she raised. He's a
yeah,
different guy. He's a monster at this point.
yeah.
He's a
But let's get back to the point of this point. Like Teddy wasn't gonna go out easy. Far as like, had he gave him the money, he still was gonna. And that's why I said I like her decision, because he was gonna run back to the feds and get both of them locked up. I already know it. So it wasn't that Franklin wasn't gonna be able to just run off into the sunset like he thought he was gonna be able to leave the country, bro. It was gonna be more penalty because his mom wasn't gonna go nowhere. At the time, Jerome was dead. At the time, Louis wasn't going. Nobody was going. Everybody was hiding. So it was like, nah. If Teddy would have stayed alive, he would have definitely been on that get back. He would have definitely fed them to the feds and all of that. So no, for her to do that, yes, it closed the show, because now he's not at war with nobody, because the CIA not looking for Teddy and this and that, but she gonna go to jail, and she just lost her son too, and she just lost him mentally. They both lost each other mentally. Like, he knows she alive and she know he alive, but he a bum now. And so yes, for her to see her son go that route, and even in that last scene when he goes to visit her in the jail, and then he at first he's cool, but then he starts blaming her and he starts yelling at her and calling her a bitch and all of that. Like, it showed you, bro, the pain. Like, he was really ate up about that money, bro. That money turned him into a monster, bro. I don't know if you remember that scene at Jerome in Louis' wedding when when they had everybody off the motherfucking PCP and shit. That was a powerful scene, because he never fucked with drugs. So getting him high was like the reason why I don't fuck with getting high. I ain't against smoking weed, but I don't smoke weed like that no more, because smoking is different than drinking. Smoking puts you in a mind that you don't know where your thoughts can go and how deep. And I felt that when you talk about one of my favorite scenes, it wasn't that it was my favorite in a good way. It was my favorite way because I could relate to that. I'd have had moments feeling like that, bro. And it's like, yeah, that ain't good. And that was the paranoia rushing him. And he was feeling like time was up, and he knew time was up, even though it might have not been up in that season. And that was 2 seasons before the end. But it was starting to grow on him, like, dude, I done killed all these people. I'm the reason for all of this shit. Yeah. But you said what's my favorite? One of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, well, let's go back and forth. So you got that scene. That was a great
Yeah.
scene.
What was yours?
I'll take one and I'll just kind of, tell you why and if it has any relation to my life or whatever. But one that comes to my mind, and I was just talking about his happiness later in the show. I feel like the last time that he seemed happy to me, he took his wife out on the plane. It might have been the first time that he took her out on the plane where he was flying it, and he was to tell her I think this was the end of season 6 or maybe something like that. But I think he was gonna tell her about the fact. I think it was when he was telling her that he was the one who ran up in Louis' club and killed all those people, and he took her to like the beach on some island, and it was weird because they were sitting there and he seemed happy because they were talking about like their life together and the kid that they were gonna have, and at the same time I believe he was telling her about the fact that he shot up the club, or maybe it was after he was telling her that Avi died. But whatever it was just it was like I felt like the last kind of heartwarming scene that he had, and then everything after that, everything is just bodies, bodies, bodies. You know what I'm saying? Like just fucking you know drug lord, fast, paranoia, craziness. So I mean, it showed what I liked most about that scene is it showed the guy's range of his acting again, which he does on the show like so many times. Idris, his range is just crazy. Like I do think he's one of the best, if not like the
Right
best
now,
young
yeah, for
actor
sure,
in this time. Yeah.
And it's solely off of that. I mean, I know he's got some other work and stuff like that, but his Snowfall work crazy, bro, crazy. Um, One of mine, it's so many moments, like little moments in there, like when they flipped the situation with the one dude that was homies with the blood dude from the Woods, Stacy, when they turned his best man on him, and they flipped the whole situation. But the other one was when Franklin and Peaches went in there, and old girl was calling Sally or whatever the dude's name was, the Crip, and then he was like, and Franklin walked in right behind her and was like, "So you've been playing me this whole time," and had the gun like this. That was one of my favorite boss moves. But ones that stick out to me, Fatback's death. That was when stuff was real gory. That's when they start showing you a lot of stuff. Fatback's death, of course, when he killed the fucking police officer, his neighbor, old girl's dad. That whole episode after her dad got killed and she did crack with Wanda, that episode in itself crazy symbolic, because it just shows you how quick a good person can turn bad. And in that episode, it was so crazy to me because he didn't want to believe it and he didn't want to trust what Lee had to say. And I was just like, it was crazy. That girl, they had to get that girl real help. Like,
And then
and so,
and then that girl's, the daughter of the cop that he killed, I think it was the end of season 1. He goes down to the south and shows up at the school she's working at.
no, that was after he did all the killing. He did
That's
all of
what I'm
that.
saying. Yeah, I know. And he's just to show her that, like, I know where you live, so you can't like run from
Yeah,
me.
you
Yeah.
can't. No,
That was
or you
dope.
can't try to come set me up, because she was trying to kill him because she shot him. Remember? Because that's symbolic too. When she remembered
Yeah, that's why he
the
was
only
walking with
person that knew, the only person that she knew, because when she went back and they was trying to do the, no detectives could understand who could do it. She knew it was him because of the window. He was the only person that knew how to open her window or had the window open. So when that clicked in her mind, she was like, Franklin killed my dad. And nobody was trying to believe her. And she was coming off of that crack. And she was like, Franklin killed my dad. And then she shot him. And then his dad found him over there and rushed him. And that was when he went into that dream. And then the next season, you're right, she moves on. He comes back to tries to find her. And she's like, and he's like, yeah, motherfucker, you try to do something, I'll kill your ass. Like, the fact, it just, yes, I know we got about 4 minutes left, but just his role, like,
Well, the other scene I wanted to say, my favorite other one was when he learned to cook crack, and it was RZA was playing the crack dealer,
yeah.
and they played the music and they did like the whole thing, like the quick stuff, and it was just like, it was just such a kind of like cool, like, oh, this is like the moment where everything is about to change. And he was like he was actually like a good cook or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But he didn't like care to cook crack. He just wanted the recipe and give it to people to make it and stuff. So I just thought that was a really fun scene because it was the change of everything just kind of changed, and it was fun because he was out in the middle of nowhere, and like he was smoking with like a homeless chick like in a house, and like that was like the first time he tried it, and it was just really cool, and there was no other episode
But
like it.
yeah, but you just made a good point, and I don't want to get off it real quick. Is like the fact that he always had a vision, and that's when we want to go back to what you were talking about in the beginning. He always had a vision. He was always locked into his end goal, and he never reached it. He didn't understand. He was so much into his end goal that he was going backwards. He had everything he needed. That's what his mom and his loved ones, everybody was trying to show him, like, dude, you have everything you need. And it shows us in symbolic in our world that people that have everything they need, the intangible things, family, value, love, all of that, for chasing always the materialistic, the riches and all of that, it don't always add up, because he was locked in from season 1 to season 7. And so what you're saying is to be true, because it was like, yeah, he didn't want to care to cook. He had his plan. I'm going to get this property business stuff started. I'm going to have some property. I'm going to go off into the sunset with, I forgot her name. What is her name? Byrene? What was her name? Byrene, whatever his girl's name. He was going to go off into the sunset, all of this shit. But it just didn't work out that way because he didn't understand there was so much damage control that he couldn't control anymore. It was out of his hands. And so the one thing that always stood out to me, though, that I did take away that was good, just a good trait from him that I always talk about with you and my other friends is his vision. You really got to see a vision there, even though it wasn't the best way or the best situation. You got to see a visionaire at work. Like, dude really had a vision for his life. As soon as he met Javi, as soon as he started touching that work, it wasn't even that he was selling weed for Uncle Jerome in the season 1. When he met Javi, and he said he was just a smart kid, and he took that plan and ran with it. That's my final words, man.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna do it for the show. It was fun. I hope that we see some good work from all the actors.
Do you think that they could relaunch it? Maybe, possibly.
Like maybe he becomes like he goes from bum back to drug lord, and
or just bum back to a good person, and then there becomes another like villain or something like that.
I'd like to see the bum become a drug lord again, but we do.
I mean, but how does that happen? That's a fucking good story right there.
He gets it right this time in the 1990s.
Wow, he has no fucking money. They came and got his house. At this point, he's fucking toast.
Brick by brick.
Brick by brick, I built this shit. And I'm gonna let another, because you don't like how another motherfucker talk. That's one of everybody's favorite scenes though. So that's why I couldn't take that. But when he turned up, when he was like, and I don't get no fucking thank you for everybody complaining to me, but I'm the one that ran this shit. So what we're fucking gonna do is we're gonna listen to me and follow the fucking directions that I made.
Yeah.
Built this shit. That motherfucker turn up. Man.
Yeah. All right, that's our show.
That's it, man. You already know what it is, man.
At Bro Media.
You know it. Shout out to the YouTube channel. We got a lot of things going on, man. Parlay, Life of D Green, man. Y'all just keep